Shalom.
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 First and foremost, we love to give our glory, honor, and praises to
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Yahweh
Yahushai,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem, Chakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who were well within this ministry, taught us this Amath, which is the truth. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect that preach this truth in sincerity, which is going to allow us to do so. Shalom, shalom. And Lord willing, this will be a start of a series, all right, entitled The Life of a Prophet. Okay, and through the Spirit, me and the brothers were doing some talking and just reading through scriptures. And the Spirit had us basically start with Joseph, all right, which is one of our forefathers, okay, who endured a lot of suffering, okay, who was a prime example of enduring suffering. All right, and that's the point of the lesson, is enduring suffering, because that's the life of a prophet, is to suffer. All right, that James 5:10 for Brother got it. Matter of fact, let me grab this first. This is Acts 14:22. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples. Okay, and what are we? We're followers of Yahushua. All right, we're bearing our cross, and we're taking up basically the Lord's cross as well. So with that being said, we're following in the Lord's footsteps that will make us his disciples as well. All right, and how does the Lord confirm our souls? It says, and exhorting them to continue in the faith. All right, it says, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of Yahweh. All right, which that's the only way. The scriptures talk about taking the straight gate, man. All right, and the straight gate meaning what? A difficult positioning, being stuck between a rock and a hard place, so to speak, so the Lord can show his power through delivering. All right, and that through that much tribulation, that's how the only way we're gonna make it to the kingdom, man. There's no way around it, no shortcuts or anything. And the Lord gave us what? He gave us accounts of our forefathers to do what? To exhort our spirits. All right. So with that being said, you go ahead, brother.
This is James 5:10. It says, take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord.
Right. And Joseph definitely was a prophet, man. He received dreams, right? He received visions. And what did he do? He interpreted into his father. He interpreted into his brethren. And down the line, that dream came to pass. Okay.
It says, for an example of suffering, affliction,
and Joseph spoke in the name of the Lord. All right. Joseph was a man of the Lord.
It says, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience.
Right. No, you can stop right there. Right. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be taking our prophets, our brethren, for an example of suffering, affliction, but not just suffering it, but of patience. Because patience is what? Going into suffering, but to make hard, endurance. Because when you got patience, it gives you that ability to wait longer. So that means what? However long you in that furnace of affliction, you're able to be content. You're able to be stable. Okay, so that when the Lord deliver you, you'll be ready.
I got a quick precept. This is 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2. It says, preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season. And I'm not going to be long-winded, but when you go into those words into the Greek, it means when something is convenient, or something is inconvenient, or something is an opportune time to do something, or when it's inopportune. It says, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. So these are things that the precept really bring to light. We reprove, iron sharpen iron. We watch each other's videos. We exhort each other daily, whether that's person to person, like throwing up prayers, rebuke, exhort, encourage, with all long suffering is patience and doctrine, because we're doing these things in the name. Shum means name or reputation. It's a heavy reputation being a prophet of the Lord. And a lot of people abuse that. But through the spirit and power, how about Shemel Shah, we're doing the right things, and we're going to be constant with it until Yahweh Shah comes back.
Come on. Let me go into that Acts. Yeah, you can start at, actually, start up 1. You can start at 7.
Come on. This is Acts chapter 7, verse 7. It It's in the nation to whom they shall be in bondage.
Because Salakia, once again, we're going into our Joseph being an example. We're going into Joseph being an example of affliction. Okay, so our spirits can be exhorted. Joseph is what? One of our great forefathers, man.
That's right. This is Acts chapter 7, verse 6. And the Heavenly Father spake on the wise that his seed should sojourn in a strange land. A strange land being Egypt, right?
Yep. Because when you jump up, talk about that 400 years.
Yep.
Which that's not talking about America, man. It's talking about when we was in bondage in ancient Egypt.
And that they should bring them into bondage and entreat them evil 400 years. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, said Yahweh Bashim Yahushai.
And that's what the Lord did. All right, we was in bondage, all right, under the Egyptians. And what did the Lord do? He judged the Egyptians by putting the spirit on Pharaoh to chase after us after we, fled into the wilderness.
He says, and after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place. And
right, which is the land of Canaan. Right, that's through, we read the book of Numbers. Okay, it talks about, Joshua and Caleb, who led us who the Lord lifted up to lead us into the land of Canaan.
That's right. Acts 7 and 8.
And this is Salakia too, and this is just a background story. This is actually Stephen. All right, when you read Acts the 7th chapter, this is Stephen being brought on trial. Okay, and the spirit is actually on. The Lord put the spirit on him to do what? To go back in history, man, and to rebuke the people that's putting him on trial. Because the people that's putting him on trial is his own people, right? People of the law, so to speak, who is persecuting him for speaking the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Which is another form of suffering affliction, man, and being patient. Because the scriptures also talk, Yahweh Shai say, basically when we get persecuted, don't have no thought of, don't dwell about what you shall say. The Lord will put the spirit on us for what to say. So that's another thing too. When the time of persecution come, because that time is going to come. All right, the Lord gonna put the spirit on us to move how we move, thoughts that's gonna come into scriptures, that's gonna come into our mind to profess in that day, man.
That's right on. This is Acts 7 and 8. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs.
Right, which Stephen is going into our history, right? He's going into our history. And he said, basically, read that back again.
It's Acts 7 and 8. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day.
Right, so Abraham got a spiritual circumcision, okay? And with that being said, he was called a friend of the Most High. So through his seed, okay, through this seed line, we'll receive a promise, which is the kingdom of the Heavenly Father, which we just read that through much tribulation, we will enter into that kingdom.
Like, if I could add, it was spiritual and physical.
You're right. It was spiritual and physical. But if I'm not mistaken, how old was Abraham when he got circumcised?
He was up in age, like around 80 years old.
Yeah, letting you know that the Lord deals with the spirit, okay? Because, well, that's another topic for another lesson. But you can keep going. And like you said, it was spiritual circumcision, and eventually he did get the physical circumcision.
Mm-hmm. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision, and Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begot the 12 patriarchs.
Right. And through this seed line, right, the elect was spring out of those patriarchs, those 12 patriarchs. Okay, so letting you know the greatness of that seed line.
That's right. Bible just so we can clear up any confusion. Can you go to that account in Genesis with Abraham being circumcised? And to add to the brother's point, the Lord had a certain connection with certain spirits, and those spirits are the first fruits. They're coming back today, prophesying the downfall of Babylon, and a lot of the things that the prophets went through back then, we go through now. we were in a Gentile state of mind, and the Lord gave us that spiritual circumcision. That's why we look back to Abraham and think about, damn, when the Lord called him, he could have been set in his ways, you know, thinking in terms of person to person, not completely understanding the spirit. I got you. But the Lord showed that he was Abraham was basically in good favor to the Lord, and despite all the idol worship that you was brought up, you know, this circumcision is a representation of our relationship, just like how the rainbow was a representation of how I'm not going to flood the earth anymore. You got it out.
This is Genesis 17:24, and it says, and Abraham was 90 years old, and 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty. I just wanted to fact check. I don't want to misspeak, so I got to do it correctly or nothing like that. The point being, that physical act was very spiritual because it solidified a bond between the Heavenly Father and a man that he would deem a prophet. So,
yeah, I got that word. It's the word covenant in that verse. If we could bring it back again, because it said that he gave Abraham the covenant of circumcision, right? And the covenant as well, promise, agree.
This is Acts 7:8, and he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begot Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begot the 12 patriarchs.
Right, because that was the covenant that his seed would be as the sand of the sea, right? And through that, the elect would spring out of that. But this is the word circumcision for a verse Peritame G4061.
4061. Peritame.
It says the act or rite of circumcision. All right. It says I'm gonna get the main two definitions. It says of Christians separated from the unclean multitude and truly consecrated to Yahweh. You know what? He was set apart. Okay, so Abraham, he was set apart. How do we know that? Because the Lord did what? He removed him away from his father's house. His father, Salakia, was serving other idols. That household was serving other idols, which was what? Unclean. So what did the Lord do? He took him and Lot and separated them from that. It says the extinction of passions and the removal of spiritual impurity. So first and foremost, that's how we are spiritually circumcised, man. All right, by being consecrated unto holy things, by being separated from unclean things, which that's what the Lord did with Abraham. And that's what the Lord is doing with us, which causes us to go through what? Sufferings and tribulations, man. All right, because the scriptures also say that when you depart from evil, you make yourself a prey.
That's right. You want me to get this 9?
Yeah, bro, sure.
Acts 7:9. And the patriarchs, moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but the Heavenly Father was with him.
Genesis 37. Right. And that's one of the tribulations, right, that Joseph had to go through. His own brothers, his own blood, who he loved so much, okay, had envy upon him. Why? Because of the dreams that the Lord was giving him, the visions that the Lord was giving him. All right. Let me go to that account. No, not Psalms 30. Genesis.
Genesis.
Start at the top.
This is Genesis 37:1. It says, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. This is Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bela, and was with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more. Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son.
Let's say Israel's talking about Jacob, our forefather Jacob. Keep going, verse 3.
It says, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors.
Right, which that's the first reason that his brothers envied him, right? Because he would be considered the favorite. And and what did his father do for him? He made him a coat just for him, not just any type of coat, but it said a coat of many colors, man. Okay, so that will be what a gift. All right, that'll be a gift you will hold dearly to you.
Verse 4, it says, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him.
Right, that's a tribulation within yourself. Your own brother having an evil eye towards you, but you having no intent to harm him. You know, you got every, you fulfilling the law by loving your brother, but they got an evil eye towards you, man. That's a tribulation within itself.
Verse 5.
Because now we about to read what's going to conspire out of that. What conspire out of that envy? What conspire out of that hatred? And which, guess what? We going through that, man. If you got a precept, you can bring it out. But we going through that, man. These fucking curses. If you could bring that out, Bob Kushah, our brothers are having an evil out towards us. The scriptures say what? That Yahushua came to send division, right? Certain family members turned away against us. Matter of fact, yeah, go ahead, brother.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54. It says, so the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother.
Exactly. And then now we're going through that curse, which is now that curse is intensifying. That's why you see reports where Jake is steady gunning each other down in the streets and rapping about it, right? And getting paid for this shit and getting clout and getting status and receiving glory for this shit and recognition. Your King Vons, right? Your Lil Durks, your Chief Keefs, your NBA young boys who make backdoor ends with this devil Esau Edom. And not even that, that's just on the high level, but on the lower level. It was certain laws in the scriptures, right, where if it was a Levite can pass in your land, you were supposed to house them. If it was certain welfare scriptures, you know what I'm saying, gleaning the grapes, things like that. Now, given we are in captivity under this devil Esau Edom, but not only that, but we supposed to be able to, if I see a Jake in need, I'm supposed to be able to house him, you know what I'm saying, help him, clothe him if he naked, stuff like that. You can't even do shit like that, man. Why? Because Jacob get one over on you. You don't know what Jacob do. Jacob overtake you and your house because of the curses, man. This is a prime example of the suffering and things we have to go. This is another precept, because not only is it that just on a broad scale of the J community, but even in each, to the point where it's in your house, to the point where it's in your household. It may be your blood brother. It may be somebody kin that's close to you, somebody you grew up with, right?
Scripture, I'll keep reading this. It says, and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So the brother mentioned is spot on. You're going to hate the people within your household. Jake, you're going to hate the people who look just like you. And the Israelite foreigners, you're going to receive that type of hate too, because the scriptures and the curses also mention that these curses follow you. They pursue you wherever you go. In South America, if you in Africa, these curses are upon you. And you're going to be more inclined to hate your brother if you're not in the spirit. If the spirit of the Lord not dealing with you, you will look at a light-skinned brother and be like, oh, just a light-skinned hoe-ass nigga. Or even Issachar and Ephraim, we on the west side of Cleveland right now. Northern Kingdom don't fuck with us. And what they don't understand is a lot of us, just because we look like Southern Kingdom don't mean that we are. A lot of us is Gad, Reuben, but we just grew up like the Southern Kingdom, and we got similar features like the hair, the mannerisms, the way we move, and that really caused Jake to hate us to the core. We got it all.
Oh yeah, it's a quick precept. Psalms 69:8. It says, "This is a psalm of King David. I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien to my mother." See, even King David went through this shit, man. Right? So with that being said, this is the life of a prophet, man. Okay? And guess what? It gets worse, but it gets better. And we're gonna read it. We're gonna read it, man. With an example with Joseph.
This is Genesis 37:5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Here I pray you.
Because the prophets was called seers back then. Why? Because they received dreams. Okay.
Shalom.
Shalom. Yahweh Barakatah.
It says, verse 6, it says, And he said unto them, Hear ye, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my chef arose, and also
sheaves,
Salakia,
or sheaf, Salakia, sheaf.
And lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obedience to my sheaf.
Okay, obedience. Basically, obedience. Just to give a clear distinction of what a sheaf is, okay, this will be considered a sheaf. This is what a sheaf looks like.
A bundle of hay.
Right, like a bundle of hay or wheat or grain, right? So the dream that Joseph had, if you read that verse back, Baruch Shah.
Genesis 37:8, it says, And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed, verse 7, it says, For behold, we are binding sheaves in the field.
So this is the dream Joseph had, right? This is obviously symbolic for something deeper. They binding sheaves in the field, which means what? They gathering wheat, grain, or whatever type of hay, whatever it is. Okay, they bundling it up and they gathering it.
It says, And lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obedience to my sheaf.
Right, meaning what? Basically, it would come to pass that he would get up greater than the rest of his brethren. All right, and they would have to eventually do what? Be servants unto him, or bow unto him. Now, well, yeah, be basically servants unto him. You know what I'm saying?
Verse 8, it says, And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us?
Right.
Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words.
That's not Joseph's fault. That's a vision he received from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man. Okay? They hated him even more for the dream that he had, which came from the Lord. And Joseph, you know what I'm saying, him being in the spirit that he's in, he was zealous to tell his brethren, right? Just like if you receive a certain type of vision, or if you receive, like how we received this truth, we were zealous to tell, you know what I'm saying, people who we knew, people who we fucked with, so to speak, man. All right? So with that being, or just like how you have a dream now, you will be zealous to tell an op. You will be zealous to tell a brother, depending on what it is. So with that being said, they hated him even more, man. So now that envy that was built up from, you know, Joseph being a favorite is now being added on top of, you know, the envy because of the dream that Joseph is having. Mm-hmm. And guess what? It's the same thing apply to us. Because guess what? We receiving this wisdom and knowledge from the Lord. And what are we doing? We coming out here professing it to our people. And what do? They hate us for it. They hate us for it, man. You know what I'm saying? If you could grab that, well, do you hate me because I tell you the truth? Because that's what we're doing, man. We basically telling you the visions that our forefathers had of the things that's about to come to pass, right? We basically telling you about, you know, the estate of our people, who we are. We're telling you the welfare of how to escape this shit, man, right? You're going to have to suffer regardless. Jake don't want to suffer. That's the thing. You're going to have to suffer regardless. The only way to make it out on the other end of this suffering is through suffering righteously, coming back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man. You're not going to make it signing with Esau Edom. You're not going to make it chasing the bag. You're not going to make it with no rap career. You're not going to make it being no fucking comedian, man. You're not going to make it in the streets. That shit is over with, man. It's either you follow Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua and suffer righteously, or you just going to find the later end of this shit, man.
That's right. This is Galatians 4:16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?
And that's basically the spirit, Joseph was in, man. Because Joseph was an enemy for his brother and for the dream that he was telling him, which was a prophecy. Because later on, that will actually come to pass. As Lord willing, we might have to cut this short and make a part 2 just for time's sake. But that actually came to pass, man. So the things that we're professing okay, that the sun and the moon and ordinance of the stars, that also represents wisdom and knowledge, which would be parted unto Joseph, right? Which is the reason why, which is one of another reasons why Joseph was promoted.
Right, and also the 11 stars represents his brothers. Verse 10, it says, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And his brethren envied him.
Right, because his father was even astonished at the dream. He marveled at the dream himself. Okay, because that's something to marvel at, looking at it from that point of view, carnally in the flesh. You know what I'm saying? But these dreams that the Lord is giving Joseph, they are spiritual, man, which will happen later on down the line. That's why it was astounding. That's why it was such an astonishment when Joseph told them.
Verse 11, it says that his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying.
Right, and that within itself, Jacob, our forefather, he still observed the dream. Meaning what? He considered it still. But he said his brother envied. They envied him even more.
Verse 12, it says, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in the Shechem.
Oh, you could jump to verse 18.
Jumping to verse 18, it says,
no. So I can keep reading. So I can keep reading where you was at. 13.
Genesis 37 and 13. It says, and Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock of in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, here I am. Or here am I. It says, and said to him, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with thy flock, with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, saying, what seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren.
Right. So Joseph is doing what? He's looking for his brother.
It says, tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dathan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dathan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him.
Right, which lets you know what? This was already in the back of their mind the whole time. Because it said that before he even came near, they was already conspired to slay Joseph. You can go back in the Acts. So they was already conspired to kill their own brother, man. Which Joseph didn't commit no transgression against them. Right? It tells the scripture, we just read why they envied Joseph. We just read why they had hatred toward him, man. It was because of the way the Lord was dealing with Joseph, ultimately. The Lord was dealing with Joseph in a way that was different, man. That was more, the Lord was just dealing more with Joseph. You can go back in Acts 7.
I started on Acts 7 and 9. It says, and the patriarchs moved.
So now we back in Acts where Stephen is on trial and he's going back into the history. All right, and he's speaking on Joseph.
And the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but Yahweh was with him.
Right, and now you keep reading because at first they conspired to kill him, right? But we're going to read what ended up happening.
Verse 19, it says, and they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, and we will say some evil beasts have devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams.
Right, so they conspired wickedness against their brother. All right, which, hey man, our people gonna do the same thing to us. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna conspire wickedness against us. They're gonna do all manner of evil. But the Lord is gonna do what? He's gonna deliver us out of it, just like how he delivered Joseph, as we just read in Acts. Oh, calm.
Verse 21, it says, and Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him.
Yeah, so Reuben had to step in, man. Big brother had to step in. He had to, no, man, you know what I'm saying? Let's not even do all of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's just sell him. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna read about, but Reuben had to step in. You know, the big brother had to step in and basically stop that, or the spirit had to put the Lord had to put the spirit on Reuben to step in, so that wouldn't happen. Because if Joseph would have died, like you said earlier, right? Exactly, and that would have contradicted the covenant that was made with Abraham that we read about when we started up in Acts. The covenant of the circumcision, that would have contradicted that.
Verse 22, we're reading on, it says, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his
right, because he was considering. The Lord put the spirit on Reuben to consider, right, and not just do. So he considered what? He considered his father, how it would hurt his father. He probably considered a whole bunch of other things as well, man.
It says that they stripped Joseph out of his coat, his coat of many colors that was on him, And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, Gilead, with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren,
which the Ishmaelites are the modern day Arabs. Arabs.
And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brethren and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hands be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh, and his brethren were content.
Right, and that's what happened, man. Right, as we just read in Acts, he was sold into the Ishmaelites. Okay, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, he was delivered out of the hands of his brethren that conspired to kill him. You can keep going in that.
It's Acts 7 and 10. It says, and delivered him out of all his afflictions. They gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
See, and the Lord gonna do the same thing with us. But what did Joseph do? He stayed down till he came up, man. Through all of those afflictions he went through, because he went through more than that, right? After he was sold to the Ishmaelites, he ended up, he ended up in Egypt, right? When we ended up in Egypt, then he ended up being thrown in jail, being falsely accused, right? Yeah, we're gonna close out on that. Ended up being falsely accused. Then when he was locked up in there, right, he was helping out the prison, the people who was in prison with him, that was locked up in there with him. He ended up helping them out by interpreting their dreams. But it was all the spirit though, because when they got out, they ain't really speak on behalf of Joseph, in favor of Joseph to basically lighten his, basically to get him out of there. But it was all the spirit how the Lord constructed it. Because guess what? He stayed down till he came up. He ain't bug out because damn, why they ain't, you know what I'm saying? Why he ain't put in the good work while I'm still in? He didn't do that. He stayed patient, man. Just like we read in James 5 and 10, through suffering and patience. So that's the same type of spirit we have to adapt, man, especially now more than ever.
That's right, Art. It says, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house.
Right, because ultimately what happened, he ended up interpreting Pharaoh's dream, right? You know what I mean? He ended up interpreting his dream. Then the Lord did what? He lifted him up. He gave him his glory. He gave him his honor. But he had to go through the humility first. He had to go through the suffering first, right? And guess what? This is the life of a prophet, man. We're going to get the glory, Lord willing, man, if we are the elect. But we got to suffer first through much tribulation. You got a precept, you got it.
Yeah, real quick. This is First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 51. It says, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall you receive great honor and an everlasting name. And we know through the precepts that a good name, a good reputation is better than ointment. And we know from Sirach or Ecclesiastes chapter 44 through about 47, 48, is giving praise to the men who stood stiffly for Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, going into accounts just like these where, it might not have seemed ideal, but they had faith. It says, verse 52, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Joseph, in time of his distress, kept the commandment and was made Lord of Egypt. So this is not the first time where our forefathers reflected on their forefathers and the leaps of faith that they took, trusting Yahweh. And the scriptures say that, you'll never be confounded when you do that.
Right, because it said he kept the commandments. He could have committed adultery with the queen,
first wife,
the water. He could have committed adultery, right? But guess what? He kept the commandments, right? So then he ended up suffering righteously for keeping the commandments. Did he forsake the Lord? No. He stayed down till he came up, man. Right? And he increased in wisdom. They say he became governor.
Mm-hmm.
He got his glory, man. He got his honor. And see, we gonna get our honor. All right? But it's through suffering we're gonna get it. You got it out.
This is Psalms 105 and 17. It says, he sent a man before them even Joseph, who was sold for a servant. It says, whose feet they hurt with fetters, he was laid in iron.
Mm-hmm. And your skin can deteriorate from that shit. You can get a skin disease from that shit, man. Right? So he was sold into captivity. Just like when we had yokes of iron on our necks and we were shackled up from feet to motherfucking ankle. That's basically how he was. He was shackled up in them iron chains, them iron fetters. That don't feel good, man. All right, Jake complained about handcuffs. Shit, he was in iron fetters. That shit don't feel good, man.
Verse 19, it says, until the time that his word came. It says, the word of the Lord tried him.
See, the word of the Lord tried him, man. These scriptures is going to try you. See, the spirit of the Lord is going to try you, man. The words we speak is going to try us. Every prophet is going to go through this. This is the life we have to live, man. Dude, our life don't belong to us. The shit we did in the world, that shit was in the world, man. That was in ignorance. See, now we actually living. All right, we living for Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So that's who our life belongs to. When you become a prophet, that's what you sign up for, man. So until the prophecy, until the Lord make good on his word, right, which he's going to do, we're going to have to suffer righteously. Or we're just going to have to suffer how we suffer and cook in that furnace of affliction until the Lord deliver us out, man.
Verse 20, it says, the king sent and loosed him, even the ruler of the people, and let him go free.
See? And that's basically what he asked for the other two servants who was locked up with him. He asked them to speak on behalf of him so that he could let go, so he could be free. But the Lord didn't want him to be free yet, man. He's like, no, you need just a little bit longer, you know. And the Lord put the spirit on the king to let him free within his own will.
Verse 21, it says he made him lord of his house and ruler of all his substance.
Right. Because he interpreted the king's dream, man. Which that reminds me of Daniel, right? Daniel, he's another example of suffering affliction. So, these examples is to exhort us, as the scriptures say. Actually, you could go back to that James 5:10. We could close back out on that. These accounts in these scriptures is written for our learning and for our exhortation to build our faith, man. Okay, so lessons like this, that's hopefully edifying and exhorting, could be done for those who need it, man. Okay, and for those who actually participate in doing the lesson that the Lord put the Spirit on doing it.
This is James 5:10. It says, take my brethren, the prophets.
Right, we just read about Joseph, all the things he went through. Okay,
who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience.
Right. And Joseph, he had that patience. That's why he was delivered out. You got to close or anything. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson, giving our glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh. Once again, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are well. Shalom, shalom, kwam, lama, yasharallah.